Alright guys, welcome back to day 7. I had to skip a few days on you. Had some friends that needed some help with their archery equipment, so I was doing that. They weren't really willing to be on camera, so we couldn't record that. But it would have been good because we were doing some broadhead tuning, kind of helping them out with that. And you know, got everybody all situated, I think, you know, a week before season, so you got to start somewhere, right? Or a week and a half, wherever we're at. So we're going to do our day 7. I shot way too much here the past couple days, way more than I normally do, so a little slower on the right shoulder. Not terrible, but I know it's going to affect my shot. Plus the coffee I've had this morning, I know. So I'm being honest with myself, saying, hey, you know, you're not going to do great. More than likely. Also, I was experimenting a little bit with this little guy. It's what do they call it? Yeah, the GoPro. There we go. It's the 9 black, whatever that means. I've had it for a long time. I thought I would try to hook it to my front stabilizer just with this little clamp, and it worked, but it adds such a tremendous amount of weight, it throws my shot way off, and I'm not really willing to adapt to it at this point, or, you know, adjust my front weight to match this. I was hoping we might be able to use it during deer season. You know, if we get an opportunity to take a shot, maybe record it. But I think we're going to do something else where we can mount this not on the bow. So I was fiddling with that a little bit this morning and realized that with or without it, my shots were falling apart because I'm just not steady. With all that being said, let's pick an easier target at an easier range. I think we're going to shoot this bedded buck here. We'll get set up on it and we'll just practice, you know, just letting our pin float, knowing that we're not gonna be as steady as we normally are, and just, you know, trusting the process and trying to execute a good shot. So that's what we're doing today. You guys will see on that target I added that 4-inch white square. Now that's just some white duct tape I put on there. Just put that on there to represent the area where I'm gonna be aiming, vital area. You know, if you were fortunate enough to see a bedded buck like that in the open, you know, I think that's where I would put it. Also, I'm trying this because this is something John Dudley does. He's a YouTube mentor of mine, we'll say. Never met him in real life, never talked to him ever. I enjoy his videos, I enjoy his content, and I think he's a great teacher. Now, if you guys are, you know, already into archery, it's about a 99% chance you already know him, or know of him, rather. And if you don't, and you're new to archery, I would say visit his, you know, YouTube page. Follow him on Instagram. You know, a very accomplished archer and hunter as well. So he's a target archer and a hunter. Tons and tons and tons of videos, lots of great advice. But if you're brand new, I would recommend the School of Nock series. So he's going to talk about everything from, you know, foot placement, how your stand posture, anchor point, you know, peep alignment, you know, bow mechanics. Everything you're going to need to know. The majority of what I've learned from watching his videos and others. You know, everything from tying D loops to, you know, tying nocks to, you know, sight setup, equipment setup. You know, I can't say enough about him. Great YouTube channel. So check that out. He's an avid fan of the white squares, and he used it to teach his boy and to teach his wife different angles. You know, stuff like that. He explains it on his channel. I think it's one of his most recent videos. So I'll link his channel in case you guys never seen it. But that's what we're going for. That's why I'm kind of fiddling around with this white square idea, and you know, just always open to try something. So we're going to stand back here. We're like 33 yards. Going to try to make our shots without being too out of the box today. So here's a learning lesson for us. When you're shooting close, like we are, or even if you're shooting at distance and your groupings are really good, this is a risk. You know, this is a risk. Hitting the back of your arrow, breaking your arrow shaft. I shoot pin nocks, so the back of our arrow shaft is good. We can see these are the pin nocks I shoot. I can see right now that pin is bent. So if you shoot pin nocks, and you think you're just going to go stick a new nock on that, you know, think again, you're going to end up having to put a new pin in it. But I use a low temp hot melt, so we'll change that out. But this one's been hit a couple times. You can see it's got a couple dingers on it. So it's one reason I like shooting pin nocks. If you don't shoot pin nocks, I would recommend, like uni bushings. You know, if you're shooting a standard amateur, shoot a uni bushing and then like a nock for a 204. So that's what happens. But replacing that pin in that nock is a whole lot cheaper than replacing that arrow. Well, that's it. None of the shots were bad shots. I'm happy with all of them. Every one of them landed in the white square, and whatever duct tape is 2 inch by 2 inch, so that's about a 4 inch by 4 inch square. At 32 yards, we stuck them all in there. I'm pretty happy about that. A couple observations I made, and maybe this is just because I shoot, you know, white vanes and white fletchings. When that arrow's sitting in there, I can't see it from back, you know, back on the line. We were only at 32 yards. And, you know, every once in a while I could maybe catch a little bit of that orange, but for the most part, I couldn't see this in that square. So what that did for me is it made each shot seem like my first shot. I didn't have any reference to aim at other than, you know, letting my pin float around inside of that white square. So that was pretty interesting. I do like the contrast color on my yellow pin. That worked out really nice. What I would typically, or I guess what I would say is, my grouping seems to be bigger than it would be as if I was just aiming at the back of my first arrow. And I guess that stands to reason. You know, I think I give myself a little more latitude to, you know, let that float around in there instead of really trying to, you know, focus in on the back of a single shaft and, you know, wank them right in there. All of those were kill shots. I don't know if I'm going to continue to do it, but it's definitely something I wanted to try. I'm not just going to give up on it after just trying it once. I'm going to do it on some other targets and see if it's helpful. John mentions that, like I say, he was using it as a training aid for his wife and his boy to, you know, are we aiming, you know, back here on the right edge of the square? Is the deer coming at us? Are we aiming on the front edge? Are we below it, you know, aiming on the bottom edge? Or in a tree stand, we're aiming at the top edge. So he used it as a training tool, which I think is a good idea, particularly for new hunters, trying to teach them where that arrow's going in versus where it's coming out, and what the difference of if we hit here when we're in a tree stand or if we hit here when we're in a tree stand. You know, it's a big difference, and this is only 4 inches. So big difference there. That's it. That's the end of day 7. Sorry I'm behind on you guys, but some friends that needed help took precedence over recording shooting. So that's it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.